Have you ever found agreeing to something you didn't want to do, just to avoid disappointing someone else? Maybe it was taking on extra work, attending an event you weren't excited about, or doing a favor even though you were feeling drained. People-pleasing goes beyond being kind or helpful. It's about constantly putting others' needs before your own, often at the expense of your well-being. It's a behavior many of us develop out of fear of rejection and not fitting in with the people around us. But what if I told you that the key to breaking free from this cycle of pleasing others lies in one simple, powerful word: no. Stay tuned until the end to discover practical ways of saying no and how to overcome the guilt that often comes with it. So let's begin by understanding what people-pleasing is and why we do it. In simple terms, it's saying yes when deep down you mean no. While it may seem like you're just being helpful, people-pleasing often comes at a personal cost. Constantly agreeing with others means you're disagreeing with yourself, leading to a toll on your mental and emotional well-being. At its core, people-pleasing stems from the belief that to be liked and accepted, you need to meet everyone's expectations and avoid disappointing them. This creates a pattern of constantly giving to others at the expense of giving nothing to yourself. But haven't you wondered why we exhibit this self-sabotaging behavior? Well, people-pleasing often stems from deeper psychological triggers, usually rooted in childhood experiences that carry into adulthood. A major factor is the fear of rejection, where individuals believe that if they don't please others, they'll be judged, invalidated, or even abandoned. People-pleasers also tend to struggle with low self-worth, believing their value comes solely from what they can offer others. Social conditioning reinforces this, as society praises selflessness and discourages saying no, further ingraining in us the belief that putting others first is virtuous. Additionally, many people-pleasers tend to want to avoid conflict, believing that steering clear of confrontation is the easiest way to maintain peace, which creates a cycle of more people-pleasing and reinforces the limiting belief that they cannot stand up for themselves. Before we dive into the steps to start prioritizing ourselves and learning to say no, let's first understand why this is so important by looking at the consequences of what happens when we don't stop people-pleasing. While people-pleasing may seem harmless or even noble at first, it can lead to serious negative consequences over time. One of the most significant consequences of people-pleasing is resentment. The very people we work so hard to please can become the source of our frustration as we feel unappreciated or taken advantage of. However, it's important to recognize that we are often the ones allowing ourselves to be overextended. This can create the false perception that everyone is against us. Over time, these feelings can lead to loneliness and even depression. Another major consequence is the sense of losing your identity. When you constantly put others' needs ahead of your own, you stop living your life on your terms. Instead, you become a supporting character in everyone else's story, which can cause deep feelings of self-doubt and confusion about your capabilities and who you truly are. People-pleasers often invalidate their own boundaries to appease others, believing it's what's expected of them. This gradually erodes their sense of self and distances them from their own needs. Healthy boundaries are essential for protecting your well-being, but continuous people-pleasing creates a cycle that prevents these boundaries from existing, leaving you further disconnected from what truly matters to you. All of these consequences stem from an underlying fear of rejection or guilt. So, let's explore practical strategies of saying no and start taking back authority over your life. Be kind yet direct. Many people think that saying no assertively means being rude, but that's far from true. You can say no kindly, showing empathy for the other person while still honoring your own needs. The key is to be clear and direct, without feeling the need to provide excuses or lengthy explanations. For instance, instead of saying, "I'm not sure if I can," try, "I won't be able to do that, but thank you for thinking of me." This approach allows you to decline while showing empathy and helps you maintain your boundary. By being both kind and direct, you assert your needs, in a way that maintains a healthy environment. Start small. If saying no feels overwhelming, start with small steps. Practice in low-stakes situations where the consequences of saying no are minimal. For example, decline a coffee invitation or opt out of a casual social event. Over time, these small acts of boundary setting will build your confidence, making it easier to say no in more significant scenarios. Use the delayed response technique. If you feel pressured to give an immediate answer, try the delayed response technique. Simply ask for some time to think before committing to a decision. You can say, "Let me check my schedule, and I'll get back to you." This gives you the space to assess your feelings and make a decision based on what's best for you, rather than responding out of the reflex of saying yes all the time. The clearest way to know when a boundary is being crossed is by recognizing when you feel discomfort. Our feelings are gateways to our inner self, the part of us that understands our needs and what's best for us. Pay attention to these feelings and take action in alignment with them. For example, if your manager keeps giving you extra tasks and you feel overstressed, it's a sign your boundaries are being pushed. Instead of staying silent, say, "I'm at full capacity. Can we adjust priorities, please?" Sometimes these techniques may not always lead to the response you expect, and you might feel like saying no didn't make any difference. But the purpose of building the habit of saying no isn't about always getting the outcome you want. It's about reinforcing in your mind that you are capable of putting your needs first. Even if the situation doesn't go as planned, remember that each time you do this, you're becoming a little more confident in prioritizing your well-being. Over time, this will lead to significant positive changes in your life. Often saying no is followed by a sense of guilt for disappointing the other person. While their external response isn't in our control, the internal feeling of guilt is something we can address. That's why it's crucial to learn how to manage and overcome that guilt. The guilt that comes with prioritizing yourself is deeply rooted in societal and cultural conditioning, as well as our upbringing. This discomfort is natural, but it's essential not to let it control you. The key to overcoming this guilt is recognizing one simple truth. Self-care isn't selfish, and neither is saying no. Instead of viewing guilt as something negative, try reframing it as a sign of growth. Feeling guilty when you say no indicates that you're stepping out of your comfort zone and breaking unhealthy patterns. Every time you say no, you're choosing to honor your needs. In doing so, you send a powerful message to yourself that you are important and worthy of care. One effective way to combat guilt and reaffirm your self-worth is through self-love affirmations. These simple statements can help rewire your mindset and build confidence. Affirmations like, "I am worthy of putting my needs first," or "My well-being matters," gradually replace guilt with a sense of empowerment. They remind you that saying no isn't about rejecting others. It's about respecting your own boundaries. Remember, it's normal to feel discomfort when you first start saying no. Like any new habit, it takes time to adjust. Rather than retreating into people-pleasing to avoid discomfort, embrace it as part of your growth. With practice, the guilt will lessen, and your confidence in setting boundaries will grow. Ultimately, this paves the way to a life of greater authenticity, where you live on your own terms. Only when you start respecting your identity will others start respecting it too. Be sure to subscribe and watch deep dive into what boundaries are and learn more ways of how you can enforce them for a better life. Always remember, Habitual Harmony is here to help take actions in manifesting an abundant life.